Welcome back to the podcast, people. Exciting times in Buckeye Land. It's Notre Dame week, biggest game of the season, up to date, probably the biggest game, other than maybe Penn State. Definitely not as big as Michigan, but it is probably just as big as Penn State. So, coming into the season, most Buckeye fans said this is like a 3 or 4 game season. Well, this is one of them. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. We go into South Bend, up there in crappy South Bend. From my understanding, South Bend sucks, but we're here, man. We're here for it. We're excited. Ohio State looked good yesterday. Michael, how was your weekend, sir? What'd you have going on?
Well, it was great. Had a weekend filled with sports and various things. Basketball tryouts on Saturday for both of my boys, and then football games today. And so everything went really well.
How did the tryouts go for your kids?
I don't know. We'll find out in the next few days.
Yeah.
If they made the first cut and come back for the second, come back for the second wave.
Yeah.
So
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
So we'll see. I think it's like Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll hear something. But the football game went real well, won big, and so it was a good weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah,
My weekend, I
yeah.
can't complain about. I didn't really do much of anything, which was nice. I have been traveling so much lately.
You
I'm
have
wearing my
been.
In and Out
You've been
shirt that
all
I got.
you've been all over the place.
I know, man. I've just never freaking stop. I have ADHD. I just like go, 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 go. But then, like, when I have time to relax and chill, it can be nice sometimes. It can be nice to just put your feet up and just watch some college football. Uh, watch some Major League Baseball. I didn't watch any of the NFL today because I just
You're
don't
always
really
like
care
you're
about it.
always like going to Atlanta. You're going all these places all the time. Me, it's hard to get me to go outside of the east side of Cincinnati. Like I just don't want to go anywhere these days. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Didn't you like take your wife or something to like Florida? You said once, or like I remember when I first met
Well,
you, you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm taking my wife."
we did that. We did that back in February. We went to Sarasota,
Hmm.
and then we were in DC for a week not too long ago. And so I mean, we've taken a couple of trips, but other than that, like I just don't like moving around too much on the weekend if I can avoid it.
No, I absolutely feel you, man. Because
Yeah,
like the weekend is meant to like have your feet put up and
yeah.
whatever. So, Ohio State, this is for you. This is bravo, bravo. This is what we've been waiting to see all season. Like, apparently, some Ohio State players were walking off the field yesterday, basically saying like, we fucking told y'all we've been freaking fucking around, but they weren't fucking around yesterday, man. They laid the fucking hammer down on an inferior opponent, and I can't complain about it. That is the way you're supposed to look heading into the biggest game of the season today. That is the way you're supposed to play heading into a game where you're facing a legit top 10 team at their place at
Mhm.
night.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean that's I think extremely positive. And especially considering the way that it had looked the previous 2 weeks. But at the end of the day, it's still Western Kentucky. It's like we should be able to do that, and we know that there's a great gulf between beating Western Kentucky really bad or beating even some of these other Big Ten teams really bad. There's a big gulf between that and then actually beating a Michigan in November or beating a Georgia when it matters. And so, as optimistic as I am, I think that I still, this weekend's going to be very interesting for me. I think this is a really nice test for this team.
I'd say, yeah, I agree. I would like to look at it as a test, like, oh yeah, it's just a test. We'll be fine. I hope we fucking win. I mean, Notre Dame is,
But this is my theory, Jay,
yeah,
and so I feel like we have nothing to lose. If we go into South Bend and spank them, then people are like, okay, well, Ohio State is for real. If we go into South Bend and like lose a close one or something, then as long as we learn from it, get better from it, the team kind of galvanizes from it and beats Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan, and then the Big 12 West champ, that team's in the playoff. So if they win or lose to Notre Dame, it really doesn't matter as long as they can win all of their Big Ten games.
True, but the Big Ten, number one, there are two fallacies in what you just said. Two problems. Number one, the Big Ten sucks. It really sucks. I mean, I was going to talk about that later on, but
look at the SEC this year. It's not looking so hot either. The Big Ten's actually looking pretty good.
They're not held to the same standard. Their best teams win when they go. They're not judged on these other games. Like if the Big Ten had won 16 out of 20 national championships, I would be totally agreeing with you. But the SEC they are not held on the same standard, nor should they.
Well, I mean, certainly they have been the superior conference. I'm just saying that if they're looking as ordinary as they have, and this is being played out on the field, they're losing badly to other conferences week by week. The SEC is getting destroyed by other conferences week by week. And like nobody's like really talking about it. And the Big Ten has like held its own. Hasn't been amazing, hasn't been terrible. And I think the Big Ten legitimately has three really good teams. I think the SEC has Georgia that's really good. I think the SEC has LSU that can be really good, even though we all saw them get slaughtered by Florida State. And then outside of LSU, name me another team in a program in the SEC that you think is any real threat to make the playoffs this year. Alabama's not with what they have at quarterback. They're going to lose 1-2 more games.
Agreed. I'm not saying the SEC is good. What I'm saying is the Big Ten sucks too, but the Big Ten doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. The Big Ten does not get the benefit of the doubt that the SEC has. In the voters' minds or the College Football Playoff Committee's minds, the SEC is king, and they're king until they're actually beaten in a college football playoff setting. That's where the losses need to come, not right now. Yeah. I mean, like me and you pay attention to right now.
I understand.
The average viewer who doesn't know jack shit about any of this stuff, they're watching on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Like that's the person that you have to sway here. You need to like change like the real ingrained thought process.
We're 1,000% in agreement on that. That's why some of the Cooper years there towards the end were palatable to me, because even though one of those years he lost to Michigan, he ended up getting to go to the Rose Bowl. This was 97 or 96. He ends up getting to go to the Rose Bowl, and they beat the Pac-12 champs and end the season on a really positive note by beating a national team. And so I was like, okay, this, I hate it that we lost to Michigan, but, I like ending the season beating another national power, outside of the Big Ten footprint. So I have always felt it's extremely important to win those games outside of the Big Ten footprint. And unfortunately, the Big Ten hasn't done a lot of that.
No, they just went 2-4 against the ACC this past weekend. The ACC is nothing to write home about. Now, where the games weighted in favor of the ACC, it was like more of their like upper half teams versus the Big Ten's lower half. But still, I expected like one more win out of the Big Ten there, not going 2-4. Like, come on, guys! Like the lack of speed and offense, it's terrible. Just a bad product.
It's top heavy as it often is, but this year I legitimately think that the Big Ten does have 3 top 10 teams, 3 legitimate top 10 teams. And so I believe there's a 4th team out there that's probably going to end up somewhere between 15 and 18, and maybe even a 5th team out there that might linger in the bottom of the top 25. But, that's just kind of where the Big Ten is. They're not going to have 7-8 teams in the top 25 this year.
I'm struggling to find who's our 4th team that would be ranked. Maybe Maryland. Maybe Maryland.
Maryland spanked Virginia.
Yeah, I would say Maryland would be the 4th team. I'm not throwing Rutgers in there. They suck. I'm not throwing in who's like a 5th team.
What about Iowa? You buying Iowa?
No, absolutely not. Iowa sucks. They're not a top 25 team because they barely beat Iowa State at home. And then Iowa State goes on the road and loses to fucking Ohio U.
You don't believe they're even a top 25 team?
I do not.
I don't know. I'm not convinced of that. I say this: if they don't end up being a legit top 20 team, it is time to get rid of Ferentz as the OC. Like he has
Oh
to.
yeah, well he's supposed to average 24 points a game this season, or he's getting fired.
Well, I know, but let's say he
Can you
barely makes.
imagine being Kirk Ferentz and be like, "Hey son, yeah, you're fucking fired, buddy." And the son's like, "Dad, don't fire me. Please don't fire me. I'll do anything."
Yeah, I mean, Joe Pa was never forced to fire Jay, but Joe Pa didn't promote Jay to be the offensive coordinator.
Exactly. Like here's the thing, man. Like, a friend of mine that I knew, I haven't talked to him in years. Good guy.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that I was training at like one of my martial arts gyms back in the day, and he said that he never hired any of the people that he was friends with.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because like he's like one of those type A personalities. Again, he's a business owner. He wants to make money. I would too. So if you're like one of these like lazy people or whatever, he's going to get somebody else in and he's going to fire you. And now he's going to have to deal with you later on.
Yeah.
Word to the wise, don't have a friends and family plan unless you absolutely know for certain they're really damn good at what the fuck they do or whatever it is going on. Yeah. I'm animated today, people. I'm just ready to go. I fucking hate Notre Dame so much. Let me just put it out there. I hate them so much. They're my least favorite team in like college football, in sports. Them and the Steelers. The Steelers are a bunch of inbred fucks.
All right, Jay. So like we'll get there in like 5 minutes, but for the next 5 minutes, let's break down what you saw that was positive about the Western Kentucky game.
All right. Yeah, I had to like turn it up this episode, man, because last week people were complaining I was like too tired, and I was tired, but I'm good to go today. All right,
so we do these things late at night, so.
It's always late at night to record this thing, but usually I'm okay. But last week not so much. Biggest things I take away in the Western Kentucky game. You really run out of superlatives when you break this game down. Ohio State, like I said at the very beginning of the show, they did what they were needed. They did what they were supposed to do as a team that is a national championship winning contender.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw a team yesterday, based on what they did, I could see them. I'm like, okay, that team can win a national championship. And I don't say that lightly because I have a very strict scale here. What I saw on the field, they can win a national championship. And to break this game down, the first thing I saw was the offensive line. We got pushed in the running game. Mm-hmm. The pass protection was great. The receivers were explosive, especially Marvin. Really not much else can be said about him. He's fabulous. He's amazing. He's probably the best receiver in the country. I know there was like some doubt there with Travis Hunter and Zach Branch, but he's better than them. He just brings a little bit more to the table.
There's no doubt about that. He's the best wide receiver in the country, and I'm glad that it looks like he's going to start getting a chance to show that in the next few games.
He's been playing with a little bit more edge to him the last 2 games. Like in Indiana, he seemed like I called him out. He seemed lazy. He didn't seem interested. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just it really seems like the rotation at quarterback the first 2 games really kind of messed with this team's psyche a little bit because even when CJ Stroud first started in 2021, like he was our guy. Like we knew for a fact, and he played the entire game. Like, I said it last week against Youngstown State. We played Kyle McCord the entire way. We probably win 49-7. I think you agreed with that.
Yeah, I do. But I mean, the word is, and maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't, that Day knew what he was doing. This was his grand plan. He all along he knew that he was going to compare and contrast and use these guys to push each other and galvanize the team, and then he was going to get behind McCord, and that that it was all part of his grand plan. So I don't know if that's the case necessarily, but it looks like it's possible that it could work out. That McCord is a pretty good quarterback.
He impresses me as a passer. He does.
Mhm.
I think he actually throws I think he has a pretty strong arm.
Yeah.
Um, Seems to read defenses fairly well. He's growing. He's learning he can't throw late, and he's got to throw. He's actually got to like throw. He did turn the ball over yesterday once on the strip
Do
sack.
you know what I call McCord, Jay?
What's that?
I call him Joe Germain on juice.
That's a positive. I take
Yeah.
that as a compliment.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's what I call McCord is Joe Germain with a little juice. Give Jermaine a little juice, give him a little more athleticism, give him a little better arm, and I think you've got something pretty similar to Kyle McCord.
I was saying, that's interesting. You come up with that comparison. I was thinking like he's probably a slightly bit. All right, so take Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee Titans version. Kyle McCord is basically Ryan Tannehill from the Tennessee Titans, just slightly better. That's
Yeah.
how I would take him. You can't really put like an entire game on his shoulders and be like, go win us this damn game. He's not that guy. He's not quite talented enough. But he is more I was saying before, I thought he was a game manager. He's more than a game manager, but he's not just a complete, you know, take over a game type player either. But he's a good player. I could see him on an NFL roster. Absolutely.
But could you see him making a run and winning 2 playoff games this year? Could you see him beating Florida State in round 1 and Georgia in round 2?
Considering from what I've seen of those teams,
Mhm.
I could see him beating those teams because
Okay.
neither one of those teams. Now, Florida State, absolutely yes. Georgia, I don't know yet. We don't know enough. Georgia's kind of along Ohio State. They're growing,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know if I want to see the finished result. I'd rather avoid them. Like, let's
Yeah.
be real, because they have on the talent composite, they're more talented than Ohio State. Do I think they actually have more NFL talent that is playing on the field right now? No.
Mhm.
I think Ohio State has more talent in the front in the 2 deep, but Georgia in the 3 and 4 deep with all those freshmen
And
they have more depth.
I have a good friend who's a Georgia fan, so
Okay.
I've had to hear all that crap for the last 2 years. And so, I've had about enough of Georgia.
Yeah.
But he is genuinely worried about their passing abilities. He thinks that they've kind of taken a step back to the pre-Stetson Bennett Georgia that is going to have a hard time scoring. Offense looks slow and clunky, not very explosive. So if that's the case, that's great. I hope that's what this Georgia team is becoming again. But that's yet to be seen.
They, number one, they lost Todd Monken to the NFL. I think he went
Yep.
to the
I'll
Ravens.
talk about who he went to. I don't want to talk about the
Okay.
Ravens
Okay.
and
Did
the
you go to the game
Bengals.
today? I'm
No, I
asking.
didn't go. No, I didn't go to the
Oh,
game
okay.
today, and I'm glad I didn't go to the game today.
I thought you had
Yeah.
season tickets.
No,
You didn't get them this year?
no, no. I went to like 2 or 3 games last year, but no,
Okay, okay. We don't need to talk about that. I really didn't even watch any of that. I didn't watch the Titans either. I know they won, but they just, again, I said last week, the Titans suck. Again, I don't care. I'm just going to make this very clear. I don't care what the Titans do in the regular season until they win when it matters the most. I just don't care anymore because
yeah.
they don't win when it matters the most. I just don't care. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of investing my time and being depressed and seeing a garbage product when it matters the most. I don't care.
Is
I
that
don't
is that
care.
is that where you're getting with Ohio State? Does Ohio State get you to that place?
They've come close. I actually spoke to my parents about this. I was like,
Mm.
I know all of our audience loves Ohio State. I love Ohio State when I say this, but let's be real. Ohio State has lost a lot of big games. And I've spoken intimately with my parents, and I was like, listen, guys, I would not renew my season tickets. They live like 30 minutes from Ohio State. So,
Yeah. Right.
it's not, but I would be like, hey, listen, save money. Just buy the individual games you're actually going to go to. Wait till the day of the game, and
Yeah.
then buy them then. Buy them on
Yeah.
like some like other third party website, and
Right.
you're fine. Like, I wouldn't
Right.
invest season tickets into a product that all they ever do is go to postseason games and lose. Like, The Georgia Peach Bowl was like it for me, almost as a fan, but they just
But
man.
is your hope renewing, Jay? Do you have at least possibility? For the next few weeks, can you like make it fun through the Penn State game? Because like I say,
Oh man, that's an interesting point you bring up.
Notre Dame is a nothing to lose, but then your next test is Penn State, and then you have to beat Penn State.
We kind of like got off of that. So let me answer that question. You say it was nothing to lose. I think Ohio State has a lot to lose. Number one, the Big Ten sucks. We don't have the backing of the big. We can't go and win every game in the Big Ten and just be guaranteed a playoff spot from that point. Number two, Notre Dame. I hate them. Their fan base needs this win as much as their program. If like Notre Dame fans are like cockroaches, man. The better they get, the more they come scurrying about. You see them around. It's just it's like a little plague going on there, and it's disgusting. I don't like to see them around. Just leave me alone. And they're cocky, and they think that they have this. There's this thought in Notre Dame land that their players are academically superior to Ohio State and everybody else. Let me tell you, that is the biggest lie on the planet, and that just shows you how narcissistic and stupid they are.
I'm totally with you on that, 1,000%. All I'm saying is, like, from a very logical perspective, this is the one that they could lose. If they lose to Penn State or Michigan, it probably is going to cost them, because then they're probably not going to win the Big Ten East. And then they're not going to win the Big Ten championship, and they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt twice after they put them in last year and they got beat. If there's anybody else worthy, they're going to be the ones to get in there. If we don't win the Big Ten, if we win the Big Ten, there's zero chance they keep Ohio State out of the 14 playoff.
There are a lot of good teams out there. The Pac-10 is really good. It's the best conference this year.
Okay, so USC. Let's say USC comes out. They get a bid. Fine.
Big 12 has Oklahoma and Texas.
What if they beat each other up and each have 2 losses, and at the end of the year Alabama's only 8-4, and that Texas win doesn't look so impressive?
I mean, that absolutely could happen, but perception is reality. Going into Alabama and winning for the first time there since I don't remember who did it before. I think it was LSU in 2019. I don't know. I mean, Alabama still is perceived as a giant. I think we're going to have to wait like another year, like this year, and then Alabama struggling next year to kind of get like the.
Yeah. No, it's to go into Alabama and win a game. I mean, that's like if Ohio State did that, that would be like almost like a little mini national championship to me. Just to do that as an Ohio State fan would be just like one of the greatest things, to go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama on their home field. Like,
absolutely.
So
yeah. So now you understand, like, this is what the committee's going to be looking at.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand it. But if they have 2 losses, that changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some. I don't know.
Okay, so let's just say an undefeated Texas is coming out. An undefeated Texas with a win against Alabama is getting in. So that's USC and Texas. That's 2. Now, the winner of the SEC, let's say Georgia takes it. There's slot number 3. Who else is going to get the 4th slot except for the Big Ten? Is the ACC?
Are we forgetting about Notre Dame?
Well,
I mean, they just beat Ohio State. If you lose to Notre Dame, who are they going to lose to on their schedule? Probably nobody.
They play USC, so they'll
at home. They play USC at home.
Well, they could cancel each other out.
That's true. I guess USC would be in the same boat with Ohio State at that point.
Yeah.
But like you said before, if USC has a loss and Notre Dame has a loss to USC and Ohio State has a loss to Notre Dame, it becomes dicey there. And the Big Ten's not very
Well,
good. They've lost a
it's
lot of games.
it still carries weight. It is, are you the conference champ? That still carries weight with the committee. Did you
Yeah,
win?
oh, it does.
Yeah.
But the better conferences carry more weight than the lesser conferences. And this year, I don't think the Big Ten's very good. Unfortunately, the Big 12 is not very good either. But the thing is that Texas won at Alabama, so that gives the Big 12 a better win than anything the Big Ten has as of now.
Mm-hmm.
If Ohio State takes care of business next week, then, in my opinion, I think that's a better win than beating Alabama this year.
And so with the ACC, we found that FSU has a better win than Ohio State has. I mean, than
Right.
any Big Ten team has
Mm-hmm.
by beating LSU. So, however, if you look at the rest of the ACC, there's nothing there. Clemson is not a good football team. There's nobody else in the ACC. North Carolina is not a real good football team. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing else there. So they've got Florida State and nobody. It's like back to the old days when Bobby Bowden was there. When Clemson,
they did just go for again. This is the game. They did just go 4-2 versus the Big Ten. Just throwing it out there. Now this is all the Big Ten's worst teams, but it did happen. Yeah. I expected more from the Big Ten, but that was kind of a disastrous result almost.
Well, but what I'm saying is, put the ACC's top 5 versus the Big Ten's top 5, and I think the Big Ten easily goes 3-2 or 4-1.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. Yeah. But the Big Ten still at the bottom needs again as a whole. The ACC might be better this year, and that's a shame to say.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what
from a depth perspective. Yeah,
we'll see how Wisconsin and Iowa and some of these teams develop. Matt Rule seems to be struggling at Nebraska. That's for sure.
Yeah. Nebraska. I mean, they got blown out by Colorado, and I know you mentioned Wisconsin and Iowa. I was so hyped for Iowa last week when they beat Iowa State, only to find out that Iowa State, my former coach John Haycock, lose to frickin' Ohio U, and that kind of takes away Iowa State's good win there. Wisconsin got beat decisively by Washington State. Now, that's back-to-back years they lost to Washington State. What does that say about their program?
That's not good.
No, it's not. And I read some of their boards. They're not happy. I mean, they keep saying Fickle has such a massive rebuild. It's not like they left the stock bare. Like, you should coach better than that. There's no reason that Washington State should be better than Wisconsin. Wisconsin has enough talent to beat Washington State.
I agree, but I'll say this: like, let's see what the finished product is. Let's see what Luke can put together. If the finished product is 9-3 or 10-2, then I'll be impressed. If the finished product's 8-4, it'll be like, eh. If the finished product's 7-5, it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have it. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at Luke's season this year. Like, I don't feel like he has to hit a home run, but I feel like he needs to be like 9-3. Show some significant improvement by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But again, the Big Ten is so bad. He might be getting better because the Big Ten just sucks. I mean, the Big Ten West is the worst I've ever seen it. Let me just put it that way. The Big Ten West is a dumpster fire. They are so bad. They're so slow. Their offenses are antiquated. To give Wisconsin credit, they're actually one of the few teams that actually tries to sling it around some now because they did hire that.
You know that this new college football environment is very negatively impacting the Wisconsins, the Minnesotas, the Northwesterns, the Iowas of the world, because with them going to no divisions in 2024, those teams have very little chance of being one of the best 2 teams in the Big Ten. When you're talking about Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, University of Southern California, Oregon, Washington, how good of a chance does Wisconsin have to be at the top of that? They don't. And so I think that the standards there are win 9, 10 games a year and have a big national win now and then. And they're pretty happy with that in Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, the chances are zero. Zero. Unless they get better as a program, maybe this will make them like really go out and recruit the Southeast better, develop more, run a more of a
Yeah.
faster pace on offense. I know they're trying to get there, but maybe this isn't as much of a shot at Wisconsin, but it is at Iowa, and Northwestern's going through hell right now, and I kind of understand why they suck. But
Well, I
Nebraska,
in a weird way, I am rooting for Luke at Wisconsin because I think a good Wisconsin is good for the Big Ten. And so I don't know if Luke can figure out what a modern version of Wisconsin looks like, but that's what he's trying to figure out. And I think he's maybe struggling to find that balance between the old, just line them up and smash mouth football versus like not totally abandoning that, but also trying to progress the offense forward. And right now, it doesn't look very pretty. So, I mean, we'll find out, I guess, in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, how good of a coach he is or how well he's able to, help his team make those improvements over the next several weeks.
yeah, very true. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but I don't really care. Don't really care about Wisconsin. They don't interest me. They don't.
Yeah,
They suck.
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
they're any good. But hey, back to Ohio State though. The defense was great. I did say last week that we would find out if our defense was legit or not, because like it or not, Western Kentucky can throw the ball. They can score points on a lot of
Oh,
teams.
Jay, hold on 1 second before you move forward. By the way, the only reason I got on a Wisconsin rabbit trail is just because of Luke, the Ohio State connection. That's what made my brain go that way. If it wouldn't have been Luke Fickle there, I would have had no interest in discussing Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
Luke Fickle's a good coach. Let me just put it out. I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's just
You
okay.
could be right. You might be right.
He hasn't really done it. I mean, I know he brought Cincinnati to the college football playoff, but that college football playoff game that Cincinnati played against Alabama. Now I know Alabama was not fully invested and they were halfway sleepwalking, but both sides of the ball, Cincinnati in that game have one of the worst called games I have ever seen. Ever
Mhm.
seen on both sides of the ball. I could break it down in another podcast, but that was bad. Honestly, it just seemed like Cincinnati was happy to be there. They're going to take their loss, take their college football playoff money, and go. That was it.
They had no game, and the game plan had no ambition whatsoever.
None at all. It
Yeah.
was just, they didn't really seem like they care if they won. But
It's like Luke was going to line it up and play like man for man football against a much more physical, much more dominant team. And like, why would you do that? Like,
no,
yeah. So
no.
I agree on that.
But anywho, the defense, it showed a lot of speed. We definitely have a lot of speed on defense. We were able to pressure Austin Reed on a lot of dropbacks, even though I think we only had 2 sacks. The sacks weren't there, but I will say, and to add to that, with the pressure from the front four, Mitchell Belton and Kenyatta Jackson need to play more. They bring a quicker twitch and explosiveness on edge pressures versus Jack and JT. Jack played probably his best game as a Buckeye ever. Props to him. I've been very critical of him, but he did show out yesterday. JT, still a little shaky. He had one of the worst missed tackles I've ever seen when he just tried to thud the guy with his shoulder when you're supposed to hit and wrap. He didn't do that. I thought that was really weak. But Steel Chambers at the linebacker position is honestly becoming one of the best LBs in the nation. He's fast. He's physical. He's in the right spot in coverage. He's overtaken Tommy, in my opinion, as the best linebacker on the team.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, again, he's more talented than Tommy. He'll have a better NFL career than Tommy. Tommy is a 2-down linebacker at best. Steele can play all 3 downs. He just maybe doesn't quite have the length and height for a true NFL linebacker. But again, I've seen linebackers in the NFL that are 5'11". So
it wouldn't surprise me if Tommy went in the 4th round. Like, that wouldn't shock me. You know, I mean,
we have to see how he runs in the 40.
yeah, exactly. I mean, he could sneak up as high as the second round, but he's not like a first round type of linebacker.
Man, that linebacker from Iowa last year. Now, granted, he's 6'4", though. That linebacker from Iowa, forget his name.
Yeah.
Jack something. Jack.
Yeah, but he's 6'4", like 247, and ran
big
like
boy,
and ran
boy.
like a 4.64 with like a 37 or 8 inch vertical.
Yeah, man. People like that can play linebacker. They just don't grow on trees, man. Maybe some places look at him.
But Tommy's only about 6'1", 235, isn't he?
I think he's listed at 6'2", but who knows how true the heights are. I will say this. Lately, I think Ohio State has been pretty honest about the height and weights of their players. Honest. Okay. I think before they might have changed it up a little bit, but I honestly think they've been pretty.
It's so foolish not to. I mean, because it's all going to come out. If these guys go to the combine, they're going to get measured. You can say they're 6'4" all you want, but if that tape says 6'2.5", they're 6'2.5". So,
you know what? Denzel Burke's height is like messed up. They list him at 6'1". That dude's not 6'1". You just look at him on the field next to other 6'1" guys. He's maybe 6 foot at the absolute best, but if I were to guess, he's like 5'11".
Oh, so you're saying he got listed taller?
Yeah, he did. That's incorrect.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it happens now and then.
Yeah, I just don't know why. Why not just be consistent with it? I don't know. Unless they just asked him, like, hey, how tall do you want to be listed at?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, speaking of corners, I do love that we play Jordan Hancock in the slot a lot. He got picked on some, but he figured out later and became very good in coverage. Had a pass breakup to Western Kentucky's best receiver, the little slot receiver they have. He was like an All-American. Yeah. He was, he had a good breakup there. And thank you, God, that the Cam Martinez experiment appears to be over. He should do himself and the team a favor and transfer. Just get out. He is not an Ohio State caliber player. I was sick of seeing him play last year. I was sick of seeing him play against Youngstown State. I mean, you get beat. Again, I love Youngstown State. But if you're getting beat by a 6-foot white dude on a freaking slot fade, you cannot play at Ohio State. You can't.
Is it Austin Ward that loves Cam Martinez? It's one of those guys on.
No, it's Jeremy Birmingham. Birmingham has a hard-on for Cam Martinez. I don't know why. What is he?
I heard that the other day, and I knew that like you really kind of liked the Birmingham guy. So I was.
I do. I like a lot of his takes about
I was like,
the
really?
team.
I was like, he like thinks Cam Martinez is fantastic. I found that surprising.
Yeah, well, I said before the year, just to you and just people I know, I'm like, if Cam Martinez seems any snaps of meaningful football, the defense is in massive trouble. Yeah. Massive trouble.
Well, I mean, nothing against the kid. It just he hasn't had a lot of success out there, and I mean, at this level, when you're not having success, you got to try to find somebody who can, and if that means maybe he finds somewhere else to play that's a better fit for him, then I mean, all that's good. So I mean, it's nothing against Cam. It's just that it didn't seem to be working with him at Ohio State for whatever reason.
Well, I'll tell you why it's not working. Number one, he's undersized. Number two, he's not very fast. And number three, he's a safety who's not very big. Usually if you're a safety for Ohio State, not in the Big Ten, but if I want a safety Ohio State, you have to be at the very least 6'1". This guy is like 6 foot, maybe 5'11". And again, he's playing out of place in this scheme. Like again, Knowles is running a nickel, but he puts a safety in most of the time as the third DB spot. But Cam Martinez and Tanner McAllister and Ronnie Hickman scrubs in coverage, especially in man-to-man, are manning that spot and just getting beat like drums. And he hasn't been changing it, but he has changed it this year. So thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, it looks great. I have no complaints about it.
Fast and physical is what they look like yesterday. We put some freaking hits on their players and hurt them.
And
We
so,
hurt
I
we
mean,
hurt Blue Smith, the former Ohio State receiver. We hurt some of their other guys. We were playing fast and physical, and that's what an Ohio State defense should look like.
yeah. And so, I mean, nothing but positive. I
Not
just,
everything positive. I could add one thing. I'm going to add one thing in a minute.
well, I'm just saying, it's not a performance that I even feel the need to nitpick. It's like it looked really good. I'm sure there's things that could be better. Hopefully, it will continue to tighten up. But I think for me, I'm looking for how are they going to look when they get against some of the best offenses they're going to face. And so, that's still kind of what I'm waiting for with this defense. So, last year there's times that they looked like they were going to be really good, and at the end when we most needed them to, it just all fell apart. So, they're still kind of having to earn my trust on that side of the ball.
I agree. They still don't have my full trust. I'm just saying they
Yeah,
look like they were supposed to look against Western
yeah,
Kentucky.
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
will say that Western Kentucky, they are not a bad team. That is not a bad team.
No,
They did beat USF
who
in
gave
week one,
Alabama trouble.
who gave Alabama all they could handle.
So doing some transitive property, Jay, we should beat Alabama like 49
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that
17.
be great? That would be awesome.
Yeah, if only it worked that way.
Hey,
But
give Western Kentucky credit, man. I
yeah,
like that they actually tried to score with Ohio State and basically play a fast break basketball game.
yeah,
It worked out horribly for them, but and that coach said it. He's like, "Hey, listen, I could have like called this game a different way, and we could have probably lost by a lot less, but we don't come here to do that. Respect to that guy.
yes,
Respect
no,
to that guy because he stuck the way his team plays. He wasn't going to change his game plan for Ohio State. He was going to throw at them whatever he had. More power to that guy. I love the way
yeah.
that dude
No, you could tell
coaches.
from the beginning of the game, it was like he was just going to play his normal game, and he was going to be super aggressive with nothing to
Absolutely.
lose. And he played like he had nothing to lose, which he didn't have anything to lose. But it just so happened that every time he, gambled, he lost. He got shut down or didn't convert or whatever. And at the end of the day, it was really, really ugly. So, it's a good sign. And I am really excited to see what are they going to look like against Notre Dame? Because again, to me, I'm looking at it as like I've nothing to lose going into this game. That's my take on it. I know you feel differently, but that's just how I'm looking at
Yeah, I completely disagree. But hey, that's okay. You can have your opinion. I have mine. That's
it.
why we
Yeah,
live in this
yeah,
great country. Um, I will say that I was a little concerned with the run defense. Gave up a little too much. I know like Western Kentucky runs a lot of spread and they spread us out, but our four down linemen should be able to hold up. And I know they average like 2.4 rushing yards for the entire game collectively as a team. But from a strictly like running back perspective, I think they average like 3.6, and
yeah,
that's concerning.
yeah.
Now, granted, Notre Dame doesn't run the same type of spread; they run more power formation, so maybe it'll be a little easier to defend there. I know, like obviously, Audric Estime is better than any running back we played, but
Yeah, but I just don't feel very threatened by Notre Dame's offense. I mean, I know that they're going to have to play well, but I just don't go in there like thinking that like Notre Dame's offense is going to get 30 points or something.
I don't.
Unless we
Again,
like
we'll talk about like here in a minute. A complete like Notre Dame break. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a complete. I did pay pretty close attention to their game. I know. Hey, I know a lot of you guys don't have Peacock or whatever. Just know that there are websites out there that you can stream these games for free. You don't have to pay a dime. I'm not going to tell you what they are though because I
Jay,
don't want to get taken down off YouTube.
Jay, at the end, I'm going to give you my Notre Dame prediction.
Okay, okay. I'll give you my Notre Dame prediction too. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna piece it together. We're gonna piece it together, guys, and I will die on that hill of my Notre Dame prediction. But uh, this is all right. So you say it's this game is not like end all be all, but I will say Notre Dame is not a top 5 team, and all Ryan Day does is lose to top 5 teams. But this is absolutely a big game. And all Ryan Day does is lose big games. Maybe he can change that opinion of him, but as of now,
What's Notre
these
Dame
are the
ranked?
types of games he loses as a coach.
Where do they have Notre Dame? Where do they have Notre Dame right now?
They're ranked 9th.
Okay.
I think they still are, but I can find out for sure. I know, like in the AP. Let's find out. I know the new rankings came out today, and Ohio State stayed at 6th in the AP, and they're 4th in the coaches poll. And I believe Notre Dame is 9th in the AP and 9th in the coaches poll. There you go. They're 9th.
Okay.
So this is 5, or is it? Like they're always going to put like the higher ranking out to promote these games. 4 versus 9 is what this game is.
4 versus 9. So, okay. Well, I mean, then Ryan Day's supposed to go in there and win. 4 is supposed to be a little better than 9.
Yeah, well, yeah. Lucky for Ryan Day that Notre Dame's not in the top 5, because one of his top 5 wins came against Notre Dame, because he's 2-5 versus the top 5 outside of that, or no, 2-5 against the top 5, including that.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's generous, like even awarding a top 5 win over Notre Dame. That Notre Dame team was not a top 5 team. They were about a 13th, 14th team. They were a good team.
No, they were a good team, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah, but they were not like a top 5 team.
No.
And so, but be that as it may, this is a big game for Day, and this is a game where Day has the better athletes. So is he going to be able to take that and turn it into an Ohio State win?
Yeah, I just hope he just doesn't catch a case of his own Ryan Day syndrome and call a bad offense in big games, because he's he's called some just whack plays in some of the biggest games, and even the games against Penn State we've won, like they shouldn't have been as close as they were, but it's just like the play calling on offense gets weird. The play calling in 2019 against Clemson was terrible. I know a lot of people really they think that strip sack was the difference. No, it wasn't. The entire game was lost because of Ryan Day's offensive play calling.
His play calling completely shut down for like a quarter and a half.
Yeah, now Dobbins got hurt, but still, like, that 2019 team, people don't seem to realize that the passing offense was a real struggle. Justin Fields was really not a good quarterback. He put up a lot of stats, but he wasn't a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He just put up a lot of stats against teams that weren't very good. Ryan Day, it was a very heavy run to pass ratio. But, I did a statistic breakdown, and they ran the ball like 75% of the time on the year and never developed a good passing game. So when they were forced to throw against Clemson in 2019, they really couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, and we also know that, and
not balanced.
I'll give him a pass for his first year, but at this point he needs to be figuring it out. Is he never has any kind of a backup plan. I mean, good coaches have to know that some of their guys can get hurt and have to be trying to develop behind them some kind of backup plan where they have a guy that they can put in there and be like, I think he can grow into it, but if you're not developing that guy, if you just sit him over there the way that Day has done for the last few years, where the backups just don't get in and get reps and these blowouts, and we just keep putting, up these big passing numbers, it's not helping the program. And so I hope that he will, get past that this year. And I mean, the development phase is for the most part over, but there very well could be some of these Big Ten games where we have big leads going into the fourth quarter, and he can get these guys, some meaningful and needful snaps out there.
I agree. Build depth, man. He hasn't, but this year they seem to be substituting a little bit more. So
yeah,
fingers crossed that they actually are. Just to add to that, the play. Again, we're not talking about the past too much. Just want to say, that Clemson win in 2020 and the play calling was great. was offset by getting blown out by Alabama in the championship game because that great game plan we had against Clemson in 2020, like
Yeah.
where was that game plan against Alabama? It was like a completely different cold game. And I'm like,
Well,
where are the deep shots to Olave and Garrett Wilson? We just
right.
basically ran comeback routes all day. It's not like we were struggling mightily blocking Alabama. I mean, yeah, they're a little better on the front than Clemson, but you still
Well,
should have been like throwing deep. Like, I don't think they tried once the entire game.
I hear one or two things from Ohio State fans on that, Jay. Number one, I hear, oh man, it was just all the COVID stuff. We had so many guys out, and then Trey Sermons gets hurt, and we were lost a defensive line starter, and we were down all these starters, and it was just it was a good Alabama team anyway. We just weren't full strength. I hear that, or I hear, oh, that Alabama team was so good it didn't matter. Like nobody was ever going to beat that
Yeah, that's
Alabama
such
team.
bullshit, man. If
Yeah,
Ohio State would have called the right game and been ready,
yeah,
they could have absolutely beaten Alabama. I mean, Florida almost did. Hell, in the SEC championship game,
yeah,
people seem to forget about that. Ohio State had a more talented team than Florida.
and got blown out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And Notre Dame. Now, granted, Notre Dame. I think Alabama was sleepwalking against Notre Dame in that game, but Notre Dame gave Alabama a better game than Ohio State.
See, Jay, like you know, uh, I think that it's perfectly if fans would stop and like rationally think about it. That I think both perspectives could begin to understand each other and respect each other. That because there's been all of these big game issues through the years, I have good reason, you have good reason to question Ryan Day in the biggest games and in the biggest moments.
Hmm.
Because the entire time that Ryan Day has been at Ohio State, when the biggest moments come, we never succeed or we haven't succeeded. And we've got all of these various excuses for why we haven't succeeded. But the bottom line is eventually you have to climb the hill and you have to conquer it. And so there's some of us that are just not convinced that Day can put that kind of drive and motivation into a team. I'm still hopeful that he can. I'm just not totally convinced of it. And then you've got other people that are like totally convinced that Ryan Day is the answer, that Ryan Day is going to win multiple national championships at Ohio State. And anybody who thinks otherwise is crazy. And so I think, for me, with Ryan Day teams, I just want to see how are they doing as they play these good teams. So I'm really looking forward to the Notre Dame, the Penn State, even the Wisconsin at night in Madison. Uh, I'm looking forward to those games. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ryan Day can produce and get ready and put out on the field to play in Ann Arbor, Michigan in November when it's cold and when it's gray and when Michigan's just pounding at you play after play after play. I'm interested to see what Ryan Day and Jim Knowles can bring to those games. And so to me, it's going to be, I think, a year where we learn a lot about Ryan Day's program.
I agree. Yeah, not much else can be said. He has a lot to prove. I mean, he has a lot to prove in this game. He's going to have a lot to prove against probably Penn State because they'll
Mhm.
probably be a top 5 team going into Columbus on October 21st
Penn
or
State, Penn State's good,
22nd.
Jay. Jay, Penn State's good. I don't know if you've watched them.
They are good, but they're not that good. I
No,
don't think they're great by
they're
any means.
never that good. But what I'm saying is they're a good football team. Like there's not many teams out there that are going to beat Penn State. Yeah, can some of what will could LSU, could Florida State, could Georgia, could some of these elite teams? Yes, those teams could beat Penn State, but
Mhm.
there's not many teams out there. Penn State's a legit top 10 team.
Yeah, I will say this though. Illinois is not a good team at all. They got beat decisively by Kansas.
Yeah,
Illinois played Penn State yesterday.
I saw the game. I watched the
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Illinois played Penn State yesterday, put up similar yardage to Penn State. Penn State did outgain them, but Illinois turned the ball over 5 times. 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And Penn State only scored 30 points in total off of those 5 turnovers.
Now the
That
offense,
doesn't scream to be an explosive offense to me.
didn't look good, but I'm telling you, I'm a uh, non-biased observer. I have no big reason to like pump Penn State.
No, for sure. I
Um,
don't either. I mean, I wish Penn State were actually better than they were,
yeah,
but I mean, I think they are a good team.
but
They're not a top 5 team.
what I'm saying is like from what I see with them, like Aller, we'll see if it kind of clicks for him in the next few weeks or if it doesn't. But if it kind of clicks for him, like it can for young guys, they could be a very dangerous team. If he continues to kind of have this learning curve as a young quarterback and kind of have ups and downs, then you never know what you're going to get. But if he puts it together and is consistent, I think that they're going to be a really difficult team to deal with by week 7.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, hopefully Ohio State is too. We have a lot of
Yeah,
development too.
we should be absolutely, and we have ultimately we still have more weapons. Their offense is still not super explosive. It's efficient, it's good, it's not extremely easy to stop, but it's not like super explosive. Their defense is very tough. It's very good. And so I mean they're a good team. They're just not like a super elite team, I don't think, unless their offense really goes to a level that it's never been under James Franklin.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Back to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Observations from watching them, because I'm probably one of the few people that did outside of Notre Dame fans, because again, I was able to watch it online. They do have a good offense. It's not great. Hartman, I've said it for a while, his arm strength is just not that good. He does have some nice touch on the ball, but it does take a minute to get there.
He's thrown quite a few picks in this day, Jay.
Not this year, but they haven't really played in. NC State's defense was solid, but they weren't really ball hawks. They were very smallish on the back 7.
His last 2 years in the SEC, he had like 12 and 14 interceptions, something like that.
ACC.
ACC. I'm sorry. Yeah, he had like.
I don't know if he threw that many. I don't know. I have to look at it.
All right, I'm going to look it up. You keep talking.
All right. Continuing on with Notre Dame, I will say that their defense is actually surprisingly undersized in the front 7. They don't really have anybody over 290 pounds on the defensive line. They do have a solid secondary, though. I do think their secondary is pretty good. Central Michigan was able to run the ball on them. They were.
You don't think their D line's that good?
I do not. I do not think their defensive line
or
their linebackers are all that good.
In 2021, Hartman threw 14 interceptions. In 2022, Hartman threw 12 interceptions. So he's thrown 26 interceptions in the last 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard he's in turnover prone, but he hasn't thrown one this year yet, and that's really all you can judge him on.
Maybe once he plays a really fast defense.
I'm hoping so. Let's hope our defensive line gets pressure, because to add on to all of that, and I've seen it against NC State, I've seen it against Navy, I saw it against Central Michigan yesterday. He gets hit a lot. His offensive line does not do a great job at protecting him. They don't give up a lot of sacks, but they have a lot of free guys come in there and just blast him. Yesterday, he had, which was maybe a scary leg injury for a moment there, but he walked it off. But he gets hit and exposed a lot. And if these teams are hitting him, Ohio State should be smashing him. He's not a big guy. He's only 6 feet tall. He doesn't have a great arm, and he's really not all that mobile either. Where Notre Dame is really good on offense is when they're able to run the ball and set up their play action. He's not a guy who's just going to be able to drop back without the threat of the running game and be able to just sling it all over. He's not that talented. Right. He is a good quarterback, but he's not an ultra-talented guy. I would take McCord as a pure passer and an overall talent and like NFL ceiling. I would take McCord over Hartman.
Totally agree. However, Nick Saban should have gone and gotten Sam Hartman. He shouldn't have let him get away to Notre Dame after what we're seeing that he's got at quarterback. But anyhow,
Yeah,
not
no, you're
not,
probably right.
not going to go down that rabbit
It
trail.
went, yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I'm jacked. I'm excited about this game. I'm seeing it play out in my mind, Jay, and I'm ready to make my prediction
Okay,
of
before you
this
do,
game.
I just want to point out
Yeah.
one more thing that I noticed. So Michigan State yesterday got absolutely smacked by Washington. Michigan State is terrible.
Ah,
Michigan State beat Central Michigan this year 31-7. Notre Dame beat Central Michigan 41-17. Basically the same
mm,
score.
mm,
Notre Dame beat Central Michigan basically the same score that Michigan State did. Food for
okay.
thought. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know if that means really anything. You can't, maybe it's possible Notre Dame was looking ahead, but I will say this, though, about them. They haven't really been that big time in their big wins, much less than Ohio State in their last few seasons. They're not the type of team that should ever be in a position to be looking ahead. They haven't had the cachet or their credentials to do that. So it
True.
makes me
True.
believe they probably weren't. Maybe they do have some holes there.
Well, I will say that, you know, not that I'm comparing Notre Dame to Georgia, but just as a case in point, Georgia did play a game last year with Kent State, and it was like 39-22. So,
Correct.
yes, I mean, like that's really bad to beat Kent State 39-22. And so, I mean, Georgia was capable of some bad games like that. And so, I don't put a lot of stock in that performance with Notre Dame, but I still believe. Well, are we ready to give our predictions?
No, continue what you're doing, and then we can give our predictions. Whatever you're about to.
Well, I was about to say who I thought was going to win the game. So, but I don't want to go there yet because we haven't.
Basically, you're saying that because Georgia was looking, you're giving a point about Georgia. But what I'm saying is Notre Dame and Georgia are not on the same platform. Notre
They're
Dame is
not.
not in a position to be like looking ahead. They should be taking every team seriously because they're trying to get back to the top. Georgia's already there. They were there last season. They just won a national championship. Again, like they had already been there, done that. They have the ability to look ahead. Not only are they more talented, but they're just a better program. Like they've already accomplished um, the big time goal. Like Notre Dame's not there. They should be taking every
Yeah.
game.
I mean,
It's
I
like a
get it.
stepping stone.
I get it. I totally get it. I'm just saying, like sometimes with with young guys, it happens. It's just hard to get them into it that week or whatever. So, like, I'm not necessarily like discounting that they're going to be easy to deal with. I still think that they definitely could give us problems given a certain set of scenarios that happened. I think there are possibilities where we could be vulnerable in South Bend. But
Go ahead with your prediction, man. I know you're setting it up. You've tried to set it up 3 times.
yeah,
Let's hear it. Give me
but
your breakdown. What do you think's going to happen? Might as
I
well just do it for us.
yeah, I have to because
Okay.
it's the only thing I want to do on the rest of the show, and then you can do whatever you want to do, and then we're done.
All right.
So yeah, so I believe that Ohio State is going to go to South Bend, and I think the first half it's going to be a very tightly fought, kind of tight, hard game where Ohio State will go into halftime leading 14-13. And then they'll come out in the second half and break it open a little bit. The offense will start to click, things will start to flow, their athletes will kind of start to take over, and they'll end up winning the game 31-20.
Okay. I respect it. It really comes down to can Ohio State hold down Notre Dame's running game enough to be able to then get after Sam Hartman? Because if they're set up in like second and third and manageable where they're able to, use the play action, Notre
Mhm.
Dame will score points on Ohio State. It really comes down to Ohio State really needs to fix their run defense. It hasn't
Yeah.
been great this year. It's been solid, but if Ohio State can really man up and play some legit run defense, because I do believe the pass defense has very much improved this year.
Yeah.
Um, if they can do that, and then when they're on offense, Notre Dame's undersized in the front. They'll definitely hold Ohio State down for a little while, but I just see us eventually starting to wear them down in their front seven because not only are they not very big, they're not very fast at linebacker. Morris Lufau is a
Mhm.
dude, but he's like the only dude they have at linebacker. They don't really have anything else outside of him. I know supposedly they had a linebacker hurt against Central Michigan. He's
Yeah.
not like a top flight athlete though. He's a good player, but he's not like
They're not an elitely talented team.
they
They're
have a
just
very good secondary. I will say this: they have a good secondary. It's going to be the best secondary Ohio State's played this season, bar
but
none.
Jay, they're not an elite talent team. They're just a
No, they're not.
they're
They're
just a
good,
good
but they're
they're a
not
good team.
elite. I
Yeah.
agree. So, with that being said, I have Ohio State winning this game, and I have
You're
them winning.
going with you're going with the W in South
I'm
Bend?
going to go with the W in South Bend. I'm going to go
Okay.
Ohio State 38,
Oh.
Notre Dame 24.
Oh, okay.
And that's only because just from what I saw yesterday, I watched both teams very
Yeah.
close. Ohio State's a lot faster than they are. Now, again, this is Notre Dame's biggest home game that they've had, bigger than Clemson last year, bigger than USC. Again, they're really hyping this game up. Look at ticket prices; it's like
Yeah.
$600 a ticket. They're trying to like keep Ohio State fans away. It's not working. Ohio State will have probably 35% of the crowd inside that stadium.
Hey, Jay, let me point this little factoid out to you.
Hmm.
Ryan Day has to keep an Ohio State tradition alive this coming Saturday. Do you know what that
What's
tradition is, Jay?
Probably like a long run by Ohio State running backs against Notre Dame.
Well, no, it's going back to Tressel with Troy Smith and Ted Ginn and AJ Hawk. And when they go out to Notre Dame, or when they play Notre Dame and beat Brady Quinn 35-21,
Mhm.
the next time they played Notre Dame was in the urban years, correct?
All right, so we played Notre Dame twice in the 90s. We played them, yeah, in 2005, and
Yeah,
then we played them again in yeah, we played them in the Fiesta Bowl in
2015.
2015. Yep.
Uh, beat them,
Hmm.
beat them very easily.
Yeah, beat them solidly. If Joey
Yeah,
Bosa doesn't get knocked out of the game, we blow them out.
yeah. And so then is the last time, and then the next time we played them was last year under Ryan Day.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a streak going back, 17 years or so. You know, let's beat this stinking Irish. And then who knows when we play them again? Might be 3 years from now, might be 5 years from now, might be 6 years from now.
Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since the 30s.
Since the 30s?
Yeah, no, they haven't beaten Ohio State in almost 100 years.
It goes back that far?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Notre Dame didn't beat Ohio State in the 90s. They didn't beat. Yeah, Ohio State and Notre Dame played, I believe, in like the
No, I mean, I,
30s or
I I
something.
knew that they hadn't beat them since the 90s. I knew it went back to Cooper, that Cooper beat Notre Dame,
Yeah,
but
he beat
I
them
didn't know that
twice. He beat them
I didn't
twice.
know
He
that
didn't lose to them.
I didn't
Notre
know that
Dame
it,
had a 2-0 record. Ohio State's won 5 in a row.
I didn't know that it went pre-Cooper.
Yes. Yeah. Notre Dame beat Ohio State twice in the 30s. And that's why if you read their boards, they're like, oh, I mean, Ohio State, they can and should be able to talk because Notre Dame hasn't been able to beat Ohio State on the field. And none of the games have been particularly close outside of last year. Last year's game was pretty close, but for the most part, Ohio State's handled Notre Dame every game.
Why? Okay, Jay. Why is that not like a news story all over like the ESPN tickers? Ohio, no, number 4, Ohio State first, number 9, Notre Dame. Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State in nearly 100 years. I mean,
It will be on game day. They'll
you,
mention it on College Game Day
you
on
think so?
Saturday.
You
Oh,
think
I
they
know so.
will?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's 3 hours, man. Let me say, game day sucks as a product. All their best people are gone. It's 3 hours long. It's too much about like the backstories of these players
I,
that
I, I
nobody
take
cares
I
about.
take I take back my Notre Dame theory. Notre Dame theory does matter, or Notre Dame game does matter because if you're Ryan Day and you lose to Notre Dame and you break a 100-year streak, you're the guy that breaks the 100-year streak
And to
against
Notre
Notre.
Dame, man, they just I hate them, man. Their fan base is weird.
Are you
They get
serious? Are you serious that Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State in 100 years? You're
it's
serious
not
about
quite 100 years. I mean, like, the 30s, and we're in the 2020, but yeah, it's like 90 years.
this? I had no idea. So
Yeah.
so like Notre Dame has essentially like Notre Dame is like, Toledo. Like Toledo's never defeated Ohio State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. I think Ohio State's only lost to like one MAC team, I think.
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah, so that's it, everyone. That's what we're dealing with here. We have to win this week because
Yeah.
Notre Dame sucks. Nobody well, I mean, again, it's either a love hate with them, it's like it is with Ohio State. But I
I
will say this. These are the two biggest fan bases in college football. Let me leave out on this. I think there was like a statistic that came out, like the biggest college football fan bases. Ohio State was far and away the
yeah.
biggest college football fan base. It was like over 11 million people, and a distant second place is Notre Dame, and they have like 8 some million. That just, again, you go everywhere in life. If I'm wearing an Ohio State shirt, I'm getting acknowledged. I see it everywhere.
I've got a friend from Texas, knows nothing about Ohio State or Big Ten football, only knows
Hmm.
Southern football, met him in Louisiana.
Hmm.
I gave him some Ohio State gear because I knew he would wear it. And so he moved out to California. And I told him, I said, if you wear that around, I said, people are going to say something to you. And I just want you to know what to say back. They're going to say, oh, they're going to say OH. And you have to say back to him, IO. And he was just like, he was just like, oh, okay, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I talked to him one day from him being out in California. And he told me, he said, man, he said, you told me people be saying that. He said, but I'm going everywhere out here in California. And people are saying, OH.
Hell yeah, man. I
Yeah.
mean, the Rose, again, like, you go to the Rose Bowl and Ohio State, like, outside of the Utah game, I think it was all Utah fans and stuff. But hell,
Mhm.
even in basketball, like, we played in the Elite Eight in Los Angeles against Arizona in 2013, and that
Mhm.
crowd was mostly Ohio State fans. I remember
Yeah.
Arizona fans were caught off guard. They're like, "What the hell? This is supposed to be our place. This is a
Yeah.
Pac-10 territory."
Yeah.
Ohio State had like 60% of the crowd. Don't sleep on Los Angeles Buckeyes now. I've never been to LA, but I want to go. But
There's a bunch of them out there.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. But again, it's Notre Dame week. We're here for it. We love you guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. I will say, I should have said it at the beginning of the video, but
Yeah,
again,
it's too late, Jay. We lost our viewers
yeah,
15
we
minutes
lost,
ago.
man. They're bored with us, man. Don't worry. We're gonna keep bringing the entertainment every week. The people that like really listen, they like our stuff. Just we have to add some little nuances, but again, we're gonna keep growing. This thing is gonna evolve. We're learning. We're not really like true podcasters. Well, Michael is. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm not at all a true podcaster. This is this is far from a finished product, folks. So hang with us. It'll continue to get better and
Yeah,
better. Like this Ohio State 2023 team.
yeah.
In the end, who knows? This team could end up being that proverbial team of destiny. They could end up being something special. Who knows, Jay? We'll see.
I hope so. Log in again. Log into the top right hand corner of YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, log into your Gmail account, hit like and subscribe. That's how you do it. So again, it's Beat Notre Dame week, and fuck Notre Dame. Fuck them.
All right. All right. You good? Are we
I'm
ready?
good,
We
baby.
ready to
Go
get out?
Bucks. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this week.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back soon.